This is a horror game podcast. It is meant for mature audiences. It may contain shocking revelations, violence, and sexual themes. Viewer discretion is advised. Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Vaesen role-playing game. I'm your host, Thom Raley. The scenario is Storsvagåret, the Year of Great Weakness. It was written by Matthew Sanderson, who is also our game master. And this is episode 2. Our recap will be given by David Gassaway as his character, Oscar Eriksson, the Vagabond. So without any further delay, let's begin our journey into the darkness. David?
Thank you, Thom. It's the second year of the famine. The Crown is trying to find ways and means to put food on table and distribute alms. They've got various work projects underway, and we've gotten a letter from a rail project in the north near Vännäs, where there have been repeated disturbances, where they're attempting to put a new northern line in. When we arrive, we learn that, curiously, there are two sort of alternating troubles befalling this project. Some nights, there is some opponent of the project, we suppose, who is planting dynamite explosives along the rail line and blasting up bits of the track, causing great disruption. On other nights, some of the guards, who are increasingly sent there to try to stop the destruction, have been going missing. We scheduled the intersection of the two things, different sections of track being attacked, different locations where guards went missing. There's a pattern, but it's mysterious. Any question that there isn't some unhuman activity, however, is disregarded because we successfully spoke to the remnant of one of the guards who has gone. He describes an interaction. He thought that he heard a crying babe off to the side of the tracks and had a conversation with the infant, who claimed that it needed to be carried home, and he bore it up, and the infant began to grow on the guard's back, and the image of this spirit or ghost or what have you was grotesquely deformed, crushed by the weight of this infant whose head grew larger and larger and more impossible to bear until the man's spine was bent to the ground and his head crushed and his eyes forced out of his skull, and it was disturbing, to say the least. But it does suggest that we have a kind of entity to look out for. We plan ourselves to stake out the rail at night. The nights, of course, are very short, and we will try not to be crushed by any magical infants from the side of the way.
Always a good objective to set yourself there. Right. So we bring our focus back to our members of the society out on the ground. And remember, you had just crested over the top of the hill in your train, and that you saw the work crew off ahead of you, of which you've got this the flatbed that's brought up the lengths of new rail to place down to replace the broken parts having been blown apart the night before. And amongst all the workers down there, there is this one figure that stands out like a sore thumb. This lady in a summery dress with a big wide floppy hat and a notebook that seems to be very much setting Helena's kind of journalistic senses tingling. And yeah, that's the scene that is laid out before you. This is, just to confirm exactly where. This is at the 2 kilometers, no, not 2 kilometers, 3.5 kilometers south of the campsite. So there's a bit of a gap between where you are and where the camp is. They look like they're probably only about maybe 10 or 15 minutes away from finishing up the repair work. So you've got enough time to sit around and wait for a little bit, and then you don't have to walk all the way. You'll probably be able to roll over, and it'd be a good test to see if there's any problems with the repair work they've done when a train passes over it. But you've got some time to kill.
It's our chance to go examine the site where the explosion occurred. Maybe talk to a few people.
Yeah, I'm gonna go find the lady in the floppy hat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's pretty much, she stands out, so you don't need to find her particularly. You see exactly where she is.
Valentina, I agree with you, Valentina. There's probably some speculation as to what caused the explosion. Some marks certainly were left in the ground.
Yeah, has to be. Maybe there's, I don't know, footprints around. Maybe the dog could pick up a scent.
Perhaps we will too if there was gunpowder involved. There should be a strong metallic smell of it.
Hopefully no one was injured in this.
Right.
Okay, so I think we've got Helena going looking for going making a beeline to the journalist. Potentially Valentina and the father going to have a look at the bomb site and to have a look at, or maybe either using the dog to find scent tracks or find any physical tracks that are left around. What's Franz and Oscar looking at?
Yeah, Hulda's not particularly a hunting dog, but she's observant. I think that woman looks like sort of a fancy city type that might get up my back. So I think I'll stick to the physical evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think I'm going to use my obsession with order to try to identify anything that is breaking the pattern around the site.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're kind of observing and trying to find who's the odd man out, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right. I think we'll do Helena first, and then the swarm then descending on the main hub of activity going on there. So, as a group, you make your way down to where the workforce are replacing these lengths of steel rail. And yeah, you've Helena comes across this rather nice, pretty lady that's seemingly talking and getting the vox pops, so the news on the street, as it were. You see she's jotting down the occasional phrase, kind of underlining some parts, but getting little short, snappy bites, and is trying to be fairly quick as she's going between different folks. So there's a feeling that they definitely know her, that she's a regular presence, that she hasn't just turned up out of the blue, that definitely there is some kind of rapport going on here. And yeah, she is observant. She sees you coming, so the minute she realizes you're coming straight towards her, she kind of turns her attention towards you and kind of raises her hand in a friendly gesture and says, "Oh, hello. Looks like we've got some new faces in I was going to say town, but we're very much in almost the middle of nowhere out here." So,
Yes, we certainly are. My name is Helena Johansson, and I am a writer. I'm writing a book at the moment.
Oh, you had me worried there for a minute. I was thinking when you said writer, I was thinking that someone's come here to steal my thunder and take away some of the story.
Oh no, I'm not that kind of writer, actually. So,
Yeah. You're the one who gets better paid then.
well, if I write a good book, then yes, it does pay very well. But yes, I've come up this way to do some research. I've heard some stories about what's been going on, and so it kind of fits in with the book I'm writing. So,
Oh, you're planning on doing a book on social injustice and how the exploitation of the workforce? And she raises an eyebrow and has a pen and paper ready for your response.
that is not actually the subject of my research. Actually, I'm more of a folklore, interested in folklore, actually.
There's this kind of frown that creeps across her face, and her jaw just drops a little bit. Folklore? There's folkloric aspects of railway lines being bombed. She looks genuinely confused.
Well, or people come to build this railway. They come from all over, and so it's a very convenient place to meet people from different places and learn some stories from their original hometown.
Oh, yeah, I hadn't really even thought of that kind of angle.
Mm.
Obviously, I know there's loads of people that have come from around here. Admittedly, there's more of a local presence here. This has been very much organised by the Vannis authorities,
Mm.
so this is all under the kind of direct control of the mayor. And there's been some, let's say, other other forces at work here, the likes of the traffic bureau and one of the shipping magnates down in Omea. He's had his hand in some of this,
Mm.
but yeah, I very much have always focused on the on reality
Yeah.
rather than myth, legend, and all that kind of thing. I mean, we live in an enlightened age, and
Well,
there's
absolutely.
yeah, I've never really seen there being much need for stories apart from say obviously the real stories that we put out as journalists, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think we're going to have any kind of conflict here.
Oh, I don't think so either. I'm not really a conflict-oriented kind of person. I much prefer to be friends, actually.
I mean, on a professional level, so we're not going to be treading on each other's toes.
Oh no, 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 no. So what is the situation up here, politically? That is, what is the political motivations of these individuals? You mentioned a few of them, the mayor and so on.
Yeah, yeah. She kind of almost gestures for you to come away from the rest of them a little bit, so put some distance between you and them, and then very slightly reduces her tone to almost that of a stage whisper. It's like, yeah, there is a bit of disquiet. I mean, this is not exactly a great place to be working.
Mm.
I mean, if you look at the rules that are passed by government about 20 odd years ago, the poor, what do they call it? The Poor Care Act, the Poor Care Regulation Act. That was it. That it was supposed to be that in times of need, that charity and funds were distributed to all who needed it, and yet this draconian meritocracy that's ruling here, that's been imposed by the social elite. They seem to think, no, you've got to work for your money. You can't just be seen to be starving to receive money for food. It's despicable. It goes against everything that the central government has passed. And this is a social crime that's being committed here, and we're right at the epicenter of the immediate crime scene unfolding around us.
Mm.
The world has to know about this, or at least the rest of the country, at the very least, has to know about this, and the massive social injustice that's been committed here. And so, thankfully, at least the one good effect that all this has been having is that at least there's 20 or more odd people that have been brought on as guards that can be now have food on their plates and food on their table for their families. But it's horrible. This is like blatantly outrageous, and people have got to know about this.
Yes, I certainly agree. We are a good ways from central government, and so it's a bit difficult for them to impose um, the law. So I commend you for your work. I think you're doing good deed here.
Oh, I'm glad to hear you're on the right wavelength. You seem to be on the right side of justice here.
Yes, I very much appreciate justice. Yes.
She will quite happily spout some more of her very thinly veiled socialist ideology to you, and very much there's seeing that she is very much on the side of the working man here, that she's trying to get word of their plight out, how its despicable conditions are being kept in, they're effectively being used as slave labor, and so on and so forth. She will quite happily elaborate upon that for a little while.
Yeah.
Now, meanwhile, the rest of the four of you otherwise can get pretty up close and personal to the work that's being done. The workers obviously acknowledge you're there, but they're not really they're not worried about kind of shooing you away and saying, don't go away here, we've got work to do," if you're not getting in their way. So if you're able to kind of stand around and look, you can certainly get a good view of what's going on without any difficulty, and no one's trying to stop you. There is one guy who does nominally look like, say, the leader of the group, but he doesn't seem to be wearing anything different that sets him apart from the rest. So he's not like a foreman, or he's not someone in a position of authority, but at least he seems to be someone that the others do defer to. And he does catch your eye and kind of nods, at least at one point.
I will probably I consider the welfare of the workers. So I come up, obviously, they can see that I'm a priest. I'll be like, we heard about the explosions along the track. Was anyone hurt? Anyone injured?
Oh, well, no, thank the Lord, there's not been any worries of that nature. We've only had one person that's been injured by all these bombings. You know, this isn't the first bombing that we've had on this line.
Yes, we've heard. We've heard. What do you think it is? Dynamite?
Oh, it's definitely dynamite. There's nothing else it can be. I mean, we're not trained in how to use explosives, but we know when we hear a great big bang in the middle of the night that there's someone's let off a few sticks. But yeah, this is from at least from when we've arrived. There's no signs of any length of whatever they call it, like the length of cabling that goes out to the
Yes.
out to the sticks.
The
So we're
fuse,
guessing it's
yes.
some kind of like a timer, perhaps. These are on a time delay. Someone's setting them and then blowing them up, so it gives them plenty of time to put an explosive in place and then retreat, so they can't be found. They're not seen at the scene of the crime. And then, of course, it goes boom. Sometimes there's two of them that go boom. There's, I think, in this instance, and the guy gestures towards both sides of the track. It seems to be two different charges within the same kind of length of track. So
Yes.
where they position them, you have the two rails that meet, and then a charge has been placed underneath where they meet, so that when it explodes, it means that on each side of the line that it's two lengths of steel that need replacing rather than one.
Ah, so they know what they're doing at least. Have you while you're working, have you received any uh opposition from the locals as to building the railroad?
Oh, if anything, it's the reverse. We've
I would
actually
have
had,
thought so, yes.
yeah, I mean, we've actually had some of the locals actually come out and tend to us and kind of some pitch in and even give us extra food rations and trying to help bolster our spirits and trying to generally make the atmosphere a bit better around here. But no opposition as such. I mean, you would have thought with the kind of the large swath of land that we're cutting through the wilderness here, that there would be some people that would be kind of throwing their fists up in the air and saying, "Not on my land, not in my back garden." But no, this is such a isolated location as it is that no one seems to worry about a little bit of the kind of back parts of their territory being allocated to to the railroad. It's
Indeed.
been remarkably pleasant in comparison to some other jobs we've worked on.
It will bring the economy to them. They'll benefit from it. You said one person at least was injured.
Yeah, that's Ingvar. The you can't miss him. Well, you can't miss him. He's not here, but he was back down in town for a couple of weeks while he was convalescing. But he's had to obviously come back up to the camp to start earning food for his family, back to put food back on his family's table. But at least they've got him doing some fairly light work now. They've got him in the what pitiful excuse of a canteen we've got up there, and also cleaning out the latrines. So he's got some of the more fun duties, but at least it's less taxing for him, and it's not straining his wound.
I do know what his surname is.
Isaacson.
Yeah, that's it.
Isaac.
No, you know him? And the guy turns around.
Oh, no, sir. When we were asked to come up, we inquired after folks who might have witnessed anything. How was he injured? Did he just happen to be near the blast? Was he out late?
Yeah, he's from what bits of there's all been lots of talk and obviously gossip about this. So I imagine there's some kind of elements of whispers getting distorted from as the story gets passed from one person to the next. But at least the version I heard is that he was out relieving himself in the middle of the night. And that he thought he heard or saw something, or saw a light or something down the train line. It was only a little way outside of the camp, so he went down there to have a look, and he got moderately close. The explosion went off. I mean, we all heard it. It woke us all up, but it was apparently one of the spikes that held down one of the sleepers that had dislodged and then went straight through his near his shoulder.
So he was both very lucky and very unlucky.
Yeah, he was at the right place at the very wrong time, but you could also say it was the wrong place at the right time. It was just a complete mismatch in either case.
Very fortunate that he wasn't
killed. Could have brained him easily enough. Or
I've heard some horror stories. Wasn't there some guy who got out in the US that got like a spike through his
Gauge.
Appropriately named. Yeah, especially working on a railway. Yeah.
So I'm surprised this forest is so level that you haven't had to use any explosives of your own, just to take out a particularly nasty stump or a boulder that happens to have been overgrown.
No, they seem to be very much keeping things on the cheap. They'd rather have a whole load of us digging up tree stumps. And boy, some of the tree stumps we've had to dig up. Ugh. The guy almost does a not comical, but definitely does an exaggerated at that point.
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
I mean, there's a reason people use blasting caps for those things. They can be so big. I suppose, though, if it's a make-work project on some level, they might as well just send you in with axes to bang yourself to, So, where's the nearest place they'd get dynamite?
Well, the only place I can really think of would be back in Venice, or even then it's maybe unlikely. I can't think of anyone that sells it there, but maybe if there's anyone that's brought it in via the train to go elsewhere, it'd probably come from a mayor. Maybe if someone's got contacts up with the mining operations up in the northwest, the supply routes go up there. I mean, that's where all the trains bring all the ore from up that part of the world.
It just seems that if there's no reason, all the locals want the line in. The motivation for blowing it up seems very odd.
Yeah, the most likely place to bring it from would be the mines, but the mines would want the line open too.
Yes.
This thing.
But it doesn't have to be a lot of people. It could just be one or two.
If it's not too much of an imposition, could you show us the exact place where the bomb went off? I see you've prepared a great deal of it.
Yeah, sure. Come this way. And he leads you through to the kind of the real center of where the operation is taking place. And he asks a couple of people by name. Can you, like Marcus, can you step out the way for a sec? Alfred, mind yourself. And he shows you where the two sections of track would have joined, and they are now not gleaming new replacement rails, but you can evidently tell they're different from the ones they connect to. The sleepers have been laid down afresh, and so they've got the spikes ready to nail down and hold them in place. He says, "Yeah, they were placed here."
And they've probably re-gravelled and everything. So if there was scars in the ground, they're all obliterated.
Plus,
at this
with
point.
about 10 to 15 people trampling all over this place, any hope of tracks in the immediate vicinity are long gone.
Right. We'll have to hope that they didn't just follow the tracks back, that they went into either side, the east or west.
Looking at small details in my investigation, I want to move away from that spot in kind of a radial, scanning, to see if there are any plants or debris or sticks or something that was scorched or, that, because they may have fixed right here. They didn't. Any fire that got started or any trees that got damaged nearby.
Gotcha. Yeah, so you step yourself back a little bit, probably joining Franz at a little bit of a distance as he's surveying everything and trying to pick out any one that looks a little bit odd or suspicious. So we'll go for an investigation roll from the father and a observation roll from Franz, because you're more dealing on the people.
That gives me 5. Oh, nope. I got a whole bunch of 1s and 2s.
Thankfully, you don't have to worry about those turning up in this kind of roll. So
I don't find anything.
And observation, I assume, is what attribute would that be? Precision?
Tied with empathy, so it should be in the bracket after the skill.
It's the last one.
Cool. Oh, I got 1 success.
Hey, right. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, you can get a vibe for how the people are feeling here. And apart from the two guys or the two people that you've spoken to, I mean, there's the Helena who's been speaking to the journalist, and the father who's been speaking to the guy that hasn't actually given his name, but has just come forward and had this chat with you. There's this underlying feeling that people are a little bit nervous, but they're beginning a little bit more relaxed. Maybe they're more worried the closer it is to the hours of darkness. That maybe being this far out from the camp, maybe they're a little bit more relaxed, but it definitely has that kind of gradual easing of tension that is the kind of feeling you're getting across the board here. There's no one that really stands out as being suspicious, other than maybe the journalist. That, again, because there is such a disconnect, that she is dressed like she's from the city, but she is out in the middle of a very rural area. So there's the bits about her body language which maybe being slightly defensive, but then after she takes Helena over to one side and they start having a bit more of almost like conspiratorial talk, again, that feeling of more relaxed and being at ease starts to show through a bit more.
So nobody's like sandbagging or anything. Like they're all working hard.
Yeah, there's definitely there's no freeloaders here. There's no one who's just been suspicious, like mustache twirling villain that's hiding at the back. Everyone seems to be very much getting involved with what's happening here and genuinely being part of the team. And they all seem to have this same shared emotional state.
Well, then
they're all in it together.
Then I wish to, as I walk around, to be uplifting and, see to their moral and spiritual needs if they need them while they work. I don't want to interrupt them, but
We brought a hunting dog, didn't we?
I believe
one of our resources, that we brought.
Yes, you did. That was to recap. You brought the field kitchen, the hunting dog, the hurricane lamp, and a set of bandages.
Yeah, I mean, the kitchen might be nice, but I was gonna just. I know Oscar had his dog, but if I have just wander the hunting dog around, see if it picks up, get away from the working area and get on the outskirts and just kind of circle it.
Gotcha. Right, give me an investigation roll, and you'll get a +3 bonus for the hunting dog.
Investigation is logic. 5, 8 dice.
Mhm.
2 successes.
2, good. That is indeed actually the target you need, because this was going to be a fairly difficult roll. So you end up taking a little bit of a stroll away from everyone, and as you say, putting some distance between you and them. And it's when you go back over the train line itself, a little bit further to the north of where they are, so as you get closer to the camp, that the dog picks up something, and you can see its nose to the ground, snuffling, and then finally its ears kind of perk up, and there's a and it starts heading off away from where it's found the scent. So it's implying that whoever was down here setting those explosives, they masked their tracks to a bit of a degree by going up the graveled and
Yeah, what you
sleek
wouldn't
part of the
expect.
train line.
Yeah.
Yep, and then gone away off to one side. And the trail that the dog has found takes it over this wide, as mentioned previously, there is this wide gap between the train line running through the center of the clearing and then the tree line itself on either side. It goes off to the western side of the clearing and starts heading out into the trees.
Well, before I follow this dog, get a hold of whoever's close to me, if hopefully Oscar or Franz or something, but call over. The dog it's picked up something.
Excellent. Let's move in. How long till we begin the long twilight? How much daylight do we have left?
Hours and
Hours.
hours.
Yeah. So the forest is not creepy at all.
Correct.
A not yet invented light bulb goes off over my head. I'm going to head towards Valentina, so I'm also heading in that direction. Valentina, something just occurred to me. You probably know much more about lore and the occult. I say this where our people can hear, but not where everybody. Don't some of the Vaesen have a strong aversion to iron?
They do. So
he said that they placed it between the rails so that when they blew it, it would blow up like this. If they needed to cross the rail and couldn't do it because it's a solid line of iron.
That's a good thought. I never thought of that.
I didn't think of it until he said that it went like this.
I mean, that's why we keep you around, Father.
Yes.
If it's folklore or what, but
as this thin woman is being drugged by this probably larger dog than she is,
you're kind of keeping him on. You're keeping him just on the leash and kind of stopping him from running away.
We can't let him go. So,
at which point, Helena will obviously hear the dog kind of yapping in the distance, and we'll see that everyone else has pretty much come together as a group. So, your friend there, the journalist, will say, "It looks like your friends have up to something over there. Don't let me detain you." And
oh no, I'll go over and see what's going on. By the way, what was your name again?
Oh, my name, Dagny Lundgren.
Very nice to meet you. I'd love to chat later.
Sure. Yeah, no worries. You can always pick up some of my stuff if you read the Vasterbotten Courier.
Excellent. Thank you.
And she gives you a wave as you head off, and yeah, she makes a couple of notes and then moves on to the next person to talk to. Yeah, you can join the others just before the dog is eagerly trying to pull along Valentina.
Yeah.
Just let him go. Or, not let him go, but I'll
Yeah.
let him sniff.
Right. Suddenly, then the dog lurches forward, you bouncing along behind it, and descends, rushes into the undergrowth that's around this relatively heavily wooded area. And hey, the dog's gonna be going for a little while. So, how long are you prepared to let it run for? Because he's got this scent, and he's definitely following it.
Ask the group how, will they wait for us?
Oh, well, yes, let's all just go together. It's just if it starts to get too late.
This is the only lead we have.
Maybe we can solve one mystery quickly.
If if we find the stash of explosives, then we've shut down the little project, even if we don't find the culprit.
I hate to say it, but all my years on a ship have let me spot a mutineer, and I think it was that friend of yours, Helena.
Oh, she's a lovely woman. She's here to write about the social injustices that are taking place at this camp.
Damn anarchists assassinated Garfield, my favorite American president.
No, she's not an anarchist. She's a communist, a Marxist.
Oh, all nonsense.
I'll get you some books. Don't worry.
Everyone with the same political brush. How dare you?
I mean, we're going for an hour, 2 hours. How long is
probably
a long time?
Yeah, you're going a good couple of kilometers, and through heavy woodland, it's probably going to be probably an hour to an hour and a half. So yeah, you
Perhaps
do in
we
fact start to head through.
perhaps we just go for an hour and then go back.
I don't know if we'll get another chance with this. This dog seems to be has something.
We don't have to all follow it, but I think we need to see where this leads, even if it takes well into the evening. This could be, if the saboteurs have a hut or some sort of base, we need to uncover it.
I mean, we can prevent any more explosions, maybe. Hopefully.
I mean, there's certainly no worry about the dark creeping up on you anytime soon, because by this point it's really approaching midday. So you've got another 11 hours before it gets dark. The joys of being that far north.
I'm not a young man,
That's
but
true.
I shall try to keep up.
Yeah, so with a bit of rest here and there, yeah.
Or you can set up the field kitchen by this beautiful oak and make us all a refreshing top for our trip back. But it might get lonely, and there are monstrous Vaesen babies somewhere afoot. So don't invite anyone to crawl onto your back.
No, nor do I wish to give him my name. I'll keep up. I'll keep up.
Yeah, so Valentine's still able to hold back the dog every so often, just to give Victor the chance to catch his breath and say to get up close to the rest of the group again. The scene pretty much, or the scenery rather, rolls past very much the same. That you are trudging through undergrowth, where the further in you get, the more obvious it is that someone has come this way.
Yeah.
You can catch the occasional footprint as well that's been left in kind of the dusty, hard ground, or the ground where it's turned more to dust because of the droughts. So there's the impressions where some footprints have been left, and it definitely looks like a female shoe. In a generalized sense, this isn't like stiletto heels, but it's a very slender shoe with a relatively flat bottom. It doesn't look like a man's work boot or like a farmer's boot. It very much has the feeling that it's a slender shoe, so more likely a woman than not. And after about at the hour mark, you actually come across what would be the equivalent of an intersection, where there is another path, a more historically used path that goes through the wood that this trail reaches. And the trail runs roughly from, if you look in one direction off to your right, then it goes off towards the northeast, which, if any of you are, well, in fact, I think, Franz, you had the map as an extra advantage that you picked up from the map room.
Correct.
Plotting the angle of which, using your compass, looking at the direction it heads off in, that would probably lead up towards the direction of the campsite. So where the workers have got their site established, their camp. And then the other side goes down towards roughly the southwest. So it's heading away from the camp. And the prints, when they get to this junction, they turn left, so they head towards this southwestern direction.
Is that toward France? There was an estate. There was a wealthy home, right? That was lost in the forest years ago. That
was
should be in
wondering
that
the
general
same thing.
direction.
Other side of the tracks. That would have been towards the east.
All right, then.
Damn it.
There's something on the map, Franz. Is there a village or?
It doesn't look like it.
Is this path wide enough that it might be used by horses regularly? Is it?
It's not been used regularly, but you catch sight there have been there's some animal tracks here, but not for a long time. This hasn't been used as an animal track for a very long time, but it's more recently it has been used for foot traffic.
Well, and we're seeing the only regular print is this presumable lady's shoe, and there's only one size of those.
The shoe that goes towards the one you've been following through kind of the virgin territory, like the tracks from the railroad, they are, say, definitely just a single person that has come this way and then back again. So you're following as they came out from wherever it was they went to the train line and then back again.
And the dog followed here, and she turned southwest, and this little trail doesn't go past this. She cut through the forest to find this footpath.
Yes. And then she's taken the same route that she's, again, taken along the existing trail to get to this point where she's then she's headed towards the railroad from there.
So
the direction, though, so the footfall that's going along the existing trail is a combination of different shoes and boots, etc. So that's where it gets a bit more difficult to say who's using it, but it looks like multiple people.
So the woman's trap that we've been following has come here to this path. You say now it's going southeast.
Southwest.
Southwest.
Or southwest. I forgot what I was going to ask. Is there anything? Well, I know what I was going to ask. Is that in the direction of the tracks that the rail tracks they've already laid, or is it going forward towards where they haven't been laid yet?
Gotcha. You haven't gone far enough that you would be above the railhead yet. So you are still, comparatively, south of the camp. But you're a little bit kind of southwest of where the camp is at this point, on the western side of where the railroad's been cut. There's nothing on the map that indicates any town or village or any kind of settlement, at least any kind of big settlement that would be worthy enough to put on the map to say that there's something there. But so this existing track implies there must be some kind of activity that happens around here.
Well, it's going towards a river, it looks like, eventually.
Well, then I'm thinking, so imagine, if you will, out here in the woods, there are Vaesen, and the the disturbance of putting in the rails as they go forward. They go forward for a bit, and then at some point they disturb the Vaesen, and then the Vaesen is following along and sabotaging the track. Does that seem like what's happened, or does it more like seem like the track's coming this way and the Vasen's coming here to stop? I don't know if any of that made any sense.
We're dying. Okay, good. I wasn't even sure if it's a Vaesen. I mean, it looks very much
No.
like a woman for planting the explosions.
A witch.
I don't know if I would even classify her as a witch. A disgruntled peasant.
Well, if
who has access to dynamite.
If it's a disgruntled peasant, then we don't really have much to worry about except the disgruntled peasant. We're investigators of the Vaesen, so I'm just thinking, did it start because they crossed a path that the Vaesen used?
I think maybe they've with this clear cutting and then pulling up the stumps and stuff, maybe that disturbed the grave of the child.
Well, a woodwife, or I don't think the Vaesen though wears shoes.
Right, but
maybe
I
little
think
fairy shoes.
I think right now I'm thinking there's two, and this is what I've always thought, is there's two things going on here. There's the Vaesen, and then of course the saboteur. So I think we're on the path of the saboteur right now. Whether or not those two will cross, I don't know.
We might need to stop the sabotage to appease the Vaesen.
Well, we might also follow this trail continuing and see where it's coming from, and then we might understand better why they're being sabotaged.
Very good, Father. Yes.
Valentina, have you named that dog yet?
No, I have not. I haven't thought of a name.
Dog just kind of growls at you indignantly. You know, how dare you?
Biscuit the dog.
I assumed it came with a name.
At any rate, Hulda, why can't you be smart like this dog? You see what she can do? Oh, you're a good girl. All right, southwest we go. It'll be quicker going now that we've reached this footpath.
And indeed it is. And it only takes you about a 10 or 15-minute trip further down, say, the pre-existing path before you get an idea of where it is you're ultimately heading. So the path opens up into very blatantly farm fields, or rather what would have been farm fields before the fact that the blazing sun in the sky, the evil day star, has scorched everything here. So there are just burnt crops laying dead in the fields. Any tracks for irrigation are completely dry, and this area is desolate and dead. The trail winds along the edge of the farmland, and you can see there are occasional troughs that you pass by that imply there are livestock that would have been here at some point, but those troughs have been long since dry, unkept, dirty, and haven't been used in probably a good few months by this point. The path arcs around the edge of this large clearing, so with all this fields put aside for arable and agricultural land. You can see off at the far side of the bottom edge of this clearing, there are a few little scattered buildings, what look to be presumably stables. There's a definite few work sheds out there. What looks to be a small, very meager farmhouse, very dilapidated. A couple of carts are outside, one of which is rotted completely and seems to fall on its side with one wheel completely missing. Yeah, dilapidation and squalor is pretty much the best description for this poor, pitiful existence of a farm.
And then from the farmstead, is there a larger road?
Yep,
Some clay track going around?
that's it. Heads pretty much to the south. So you can see the exit from the clearing is where the main road or the driveway heads out of the property. And presumably goes to connect with a local country road from there.
So this lonely farm holding out in the clearing in the forest, it's clearly in terrible shape. Does it appear to be abandoned? Does it smell like wood smoke still?
For a moment, you stand still and take in a big lungful of country air, and you do catch the faint smell of smoke. And having a look around, there is the faintest hint of a trail of smoke coming up from from the chimney at the back of the dilapidated farmhouse.
Well, Father, you're the friendly one. There might be a nice young farm gal in there sitting on a few casks of TNT, muttering about her bad luck.
We hope that she doesn't have an aversion to old men. Yes, I mean, we just be honest and move forward and not be too accusatory. Why are you blowing up the tracks? All right, and I'll go forward towards
towards the farmhouse.
Yeah.
All right. So you lead the way, maybe a little bit in front of everyone else, as you say, wanting a bit of room, and you step up onto this old porch where there's this overhanging, say, roof that there's evidently a few slats that have since rotted away. So if you were stood under here under the rain, I mean, this place could do with a lot of rain at this point. You'd be probably just as wet underneath this thing as you would be outside of it. There's a normal wooden door in front of you, which I presume you knock. There isn't a doorbell.
Hello,
That's definitely
hello.
extravagant. They ain't got here.
Yes, hello. And I'll knock.
Okay. After a couple of minutes, you hear an internal door open, and then a voice reply, "Was someone at the door?"
Yes, there's someone here.
Oh, one sec. And it's a female voice. Seems surprised to hear someone, but then you hear a door close again, and then you hear the tap 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 of footsteps coming down a corridor, and then a latch being pulled back, and the door opens, and there's a moderately attractive lady there that's probably in her early 30s by this point, dressed in fairly threadbare, old, baggy clothing. Again, fairly normal for farm stock or farm workers around here.
Good
she looks at you.
afternoon. It's afternoon now, isn't it?
Yeah, just in the afternoon.
Good afternoon. I am Father Victor Nystrom. We've been traveling with the railway people, and we found out that there was some farms out in this area that, of course, we're all having a great deal of difficulty with our crops. We thought we might bring you a bit of supplies.
Oh, I was hoping for a minute the way you were leading that, Father. I thought you were going to want to buy the farm.
Oh, I don't. Yes, we don't have the funds for that, but we did want to know if you needed any assistance.
Oh, no, I'm doing perfectly fine here. If anything, I'm more trying to help some. You heard there's a rail project going on fairly
Yes,
close,
that's where we've come from.
Oh.
Out on a walk, wanted to make sure that you're aware of the benefits that the train's going to be bringing, and wanted to know if you were in any great distress. with the famine and the drought?
No, not distress at all. I mean, obviously things are obviously not particularly going well here. I mean, and she just gestures almost ashamedly towards the kind of scorched fields, saying
You have
it's not great.
you have a means then to get to supplies if you need them.
Well, it's mainly what stores I've got left over that are now dwindling away into nothing. But I've been trying to put ends well and make ends meet, and trying to give anything that I've got left over actually to the folks up at the railhead.
Oh.
I was actually in the process of putting together some like care packets. So there's meager bread and
So
anything I
you're
can
on
put
the same
together.
sort of mission we are. Yes, how lovely.
Is observation, can we tell if she's lying?
That's exactly what observation's for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
give
you
me
all
give me
get
a
that
roll.
I'm a priest who lies through his teeth.
I have 2 successes.
Like Cardinal
Okay.
Richelieu.
Right,
Well,
reading her, she's a little bit worried, a little bit nervous, so she's a little on edge and guarded that you've just suddenly turned up on her doorstep. But she's not lying about the fact she was putting together little care packages for the workforce. But something is kind of ringing bells that maybe she has an ulterior motive than just goodwill
Yeah, it could be a
at
way
work
of
here.
spying on the rail workers. And
or she
yeah.
might be moving on to poisoning them. But she doesn't seem sinister, right?
Oh no, there's definitely nothing. There's nothing sinister coming across in what she's saying, but you get the impression she's being a little bit guarded, and she isn't telling you. Obviously, she isn't laying all of her cards out on the table. But yeah, something's going on here.
Are there others at the farms nearby that need
Oh,
any assistance?
at the nearby farms, to be honest, I kind of kick myself to myself.
Hard times.
It's yeah, it's been a father. It's been a very hard couple of years, and I'm not on, let's say, the best terms with my neighbors.
Oh no. Oh, that's too bad. Of course, hard times produce that sort of thing.
Yeah.
We've been walking for a while. Would you mind if we rested here for a bit?
Oh yeah, but by all means, please come on in. I mean,
Perhaps I
she
can help you with your care packages, putting them together. We can
yeah,
carry
yeah,
some of them back for you if you wish.
yeah. I was planning on heading up there in about maybe half an hour or so. So
Uh,
yeah, but please come in.
And
yes,
yeah,
I have a camp kitchen that I've brought with us in our supplies so that I can help cook for them. And do you have any spiritual needs?
Not I'm afraid I'm not particularly religious.
Ah,
Being as we are isolated out here, I don't get to church very often.
no
But
church nearby.
yeah, no church in the wild, as was very aptly pointed out in the comments from last time.
Well, if
Um,
you, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say Valentina. I thought I heard her trying to get a couple
oh
of
yeah, I was just gonna ask for well, is there a place to put my dog? Can I in some water? Is there a good place out in the barn I could tie
oh
him
yeah,
up for a while?
there's a well out back. So
That's
yeah, I
Okay.
mean,
That's where yeah, Valentina's gonna start looking around, just get a sense. Are there graves around here too? And some marked graves, and then put the dog in the get the dog some water. It did well, and put him in the barn.
gotcha. Give me I think investigation roll is probably the best thing, which your dog will give you your additional +3 again.
Oh, okay.
What is your name, my dear?
Oh, my name, Marie Alstrom.
Can I push it if we kind of wandered around a little bit? Take
Yeah,
our time.
you just take the condition, obviously for the reroll, and then choose your list of what you want other than
I know.
broken.
I've got two. This is my second condition. Is this physical or is this all mental?
This would be mental.
There we
That'll
go.
be
3 6s.
Oh wow. Right. That's a pretty damn good roll then. So you probably get a bit more than what I was planning.
I'm gonna take broken.
Right. The first thing then, the well is not quite completely dry. There is the bare amount of minimum water at the bottom of this thing. I mean, it is a drought after all, so that's kind of to be expected. You reckon it probably has ultimately in more favorable climate, it would be fueled a little bit by the river that passes not too far from here. So you'd be obviously in the water table, and it would be going down deep enough. You'd obviously be able to get plenty of water that way. But the fact that it's so dry here makes you think the river is probably just a bare riverbed at this point. The main thing, you've got water to quite happily quench the thirst of your little canine friend. And as you look around, there's as you look around, there are a few other details though that you're able to pick out. The first one, then, your first degree, kind of your first of your 3 bits of success here, is that the back of the farmhouse there is one particular set. There's a couple of sets of 2 windows that are side by side. So you're thinking this is probably a single corner room that it looks into. There are shutters that have been kept shut, which it's a fairly hot day. You think probably if someone's trying to keep the room darker, it might be trying to keep it a bit cooler. But it just stands out that everything else, you can see all the windows are open on the back of the building, other than these 2. There is a back door that obviously then leads into the kitchen that you can see. And obviously the windows into the kitchen are open, so you can get a little bit of the waft of what looks to be, or what smells to be, bread that has been baked earlier in the morning. Doesn't particularly smell great. It's probably bark bread that's been baked here. So there is that kind of horrible lichen-y type smell that accompanies it. So that's your first first of your 3 extra bits. Second one, you do stumble across what looks to be a grave not that far from the well. It's an area which borders onto a patch that you think would probably be a herb garden. Or definitely a garden of some kind. There is a little area that has been tended to out here, but obviously with the drought, the pretty much the garden has died. There's the remains of patches of different flowers and say herb patches and the like. And it looks like it would have been quite a nice little serene, quiet spot. So if someone lived here, it might be somewhere that they thought was kind of a place kind of key to them, or somewhere that they found was a nice tranquil spot. But there's no real headstone here, not anymore. It looks like there was maybe a simple wooden cross, but you find the stump of it. The cross has been, it seems, complete either wrenched out of the ground, kind of broken off close to the ground, or smacked away. But yeah, the grave doesn't look as though it's been tended to with any kind of care or respect. If anything, it looks like someone got real angry here and took out the cross. And the last bit that you get with your big stack of successes here is that by the I'm losing my words. By the shed where there's you can see farm equipment that's positioned in there. You can see there's a couple of what look to be other wagons in there, but also things like plows, again long since unused, harnesses for horses where they would have pulled the wagons and pulled the plows, stones where they would sharpen the tools. All that stuff that is completely covered in dust and hasn't been looked at in months. The wagon that I mentioned that had kind of collapsed on one side, that there was a wheel missing. You can see that wheel now is kind of tucked away in the back of the barn. And there's a very distinctive, this is on a few of the spokes. I mean, this is quite a big wheel. So this was on a wagon that would have carried a lot of weight. it's been turned black over time, but this thing had a quite hefty blood stain on one side of that wheel.
Huh.
As if it ran someone over and they popped
All
like a
right.
balloon. Yeah.
All right. Did Oscar go in? I mean, we're tending to our dogs.
Yeah, I'm more or less trailing you, probably looking
Yeah.
for my own tidbits. But if you want to whistle or whatever, that's in the barn, the missing wheel.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there's a few things going on here.
Yeah. The Ulstrom Homes cabin, it looks like a single family dwelling, not like a place a woman would live alone.
It's too big to be a single person. So yeah,
Farm
there's
here.
probably a
Yeah.
good few spare rooms in there as well. This if she lives alone now, she would have plenty of rooms left over. There's definitely room to live in, yeah.
Probably the sort of place that has a root cellar from Happier Days,
Almost certainly.
which means that's where you'd go to be cool rather than close a couple of windows on a corner. And the place is so poorly kept, but those shutters are in good stead.
They're not exactly great. You can see some of the other shutters that are on the outside are rotten again. There's a couple where the bars are missing. So you reckon if this is in the same kind of state, you could probably easily remove a couple of slats and be able to see in, but it might be obvious if there's someone inside. But yeah, they're not secure, especially to someone of your particular profession.
I think I'd like to try to, if Valentina, if you'll hold Hulda, because I don't want her to get excited. I think I'd
No,
like to try to
oh,
stealthily peer into one of those windows and see if I can make anything out in the relative shadow.
We have our first opposed roll of the game. So your stealth versus my vigilance.
There we go. I am precision. I am 5 stealthy.
I am very stealthy, just by the way.
I'm
Um,
very distracting.
I am going to have to push that roll and take uh, frightened, I think.
Okay, might be appropriate after what you see. If you see anything, this is
Okay, 2.
Yes.
Two
that beats my
successes.
1. Again, I'm glad this isn't a system that uses ones. Oh, no, it does use ones, but not on this roll. Because I rolled 4 of them
Oh,
on this particular roll, but I did get 1 6. So my 1 takes away 1 of yours. You still have 1 left over, so you are unobserved. Right, you get up to the window, and yeah, there's a bit where one of the slats is evidently slightly out of position and is almost on the verge of falling off. So you can peer into the room and see what's inside. And yeah, there's definitely a moment where if the camera was looking at you, maybe your eyes either go wide a little bit or your eyebrows at least raise slightly here. The room is roughly set up so that you have a central table that's in the middle of the room. There's a door off from your perspective. It's off on the left hand side at the far corner of the room, away from the window. There's a cot bed off on the right hand side up in the corner, and which almost like not a suitcase, but more like a traveling bag that someone is living out of, where you can see there's a small rack or clothes horse where clothes have been draped over it. And there's a lady in pretty much predominantly black clothing, standing at this table, tinkering with what looks like a carriage clock. And there's a couple of other carriage clocks next to where she's working. She's almost got one of these like a watchmaker's set of screws and screwdrivers that she's tinkering with this thing and fine tuning it. There's a couple of lengths of wire and also twine that's here, and a box that has a very open side with the stenciled word explosives written on it, where you can see these lengths of dynamite with fuses that are ready to be bound together. And thankfully, she does not look like she's seen or heard you.
Yeah, I think being stealthy, I went on the shadowy side of the house so that I didn't cast light away when I crossed in front of the window, and I am backing slowly away and then half trotting over to Valentina because that crate of explosives would make a big crater where that farmhouse used to be if something should go terribly awry.
Just a bit.
Yeah, so we've got a mad widow hiding in there, living out of a trunk. And when they said that they were timed devices, I thought, who out in these boondocks
What
knows the
couldn't
first thing? She's got wire and tools, and we found them. I don't know whether the little old lady in front is just daft or they're complicit. I don't.
Well,
But
she's
they're
not
the
old in the front.
Yeah, the front.
oh
she's-
right maybe the daughter then or
Uh,
the widow
I'd be
or
very
both.
surprised she doesn't know what's going on. I can't believe she doesn't know what's going on. So
The lady that came to the front door, the one that I described as being kind of in
30s.
either early to mid 30s, the one that you saw, admittedly from the back, but you kind of get the profile of her and such. The lady in black, you think she's probably in her mid 20s, so is almost certainly not not old enough to be a child. Is too old to be a child of the farm owner.
And the farmhouse resident that presented herself, again, sort of regular blousy farm wear. And this
Yeah,
woman
baggy,
is dressed
dirty, threadbare.
in somewhat formal widow's weeds looking kind of stuff.
If anything, it's more figure hugging black. So it's more of a case of she is dressed up as if she is out to do some clandestine work that you would be
go
more
out at
familiar
night.
with.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So not a hat with a veil, but instead kind of form-fitting, and she's like a professional.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yes. Yeah, I don't know where she would pick up this. So we've got two disgruntled women here. Some kind of accident with the wagon, and someone angry with the person who's buried.
what a mess this all is. And if the former grave, is it the size of an adult? The
Definitely
sort of
adult.
mound?
Yeah, definitely adults.
Do I have to know the person's name, or since I'm on the grave? Oh, I can't just call.
You need to know the name.
Okay.
This is the problem you had with the security guard last time, but you got the name of the guard.
No, I was just hoping I had the grave there. It was just set up on the grave, but
Oh, I'd say you could try it. It's just going to mean the difficulty gets harder. And if you don't get enough successes, you might attract an angry spirit. You want to try it?
We could poke around and see if we can find the rest of the cross. There might at least have been initials on it.
yeah, maybe it was just kicked and it was kicked away,
I mean,
So
I don't care to go anywhere near the house until
not sure how we're gonna signal
ever.
to the yeah.
Maybe not summon the Vaesen while we're in disguise.
Um, hmm. Well, definitely get the dogs away. So if there is an explosion, they're fine. Put them in the
Always
bar.
take care of the animals.
Um,
I never have animal cruelty in any game of mine.
Exactly. And they've been very good. Yeah, I mean, I should we just poke our head in and say we've got to leave?
Yeah, I'll just say, we don't want to
Train.
take any more of the lady's water. We know where camp is, and I'm getting peckish. So if we can help you carry something, ma'am, or miss, I'm sorry.
Okay. Oh, you've had a few minutes doing that outside, so we'll skip
Yeah.
to the other group because kind of to catch up with where you would be coming back in through the front door or even the back door if you want to be more direct. So, Father, Helena, and Franz, yeah, you're in this nice. Well, that's the only time nice would be used to describe this place. This roomy farmhouse that definitely there's it's airy, but it's also one that is dilapidated. This place hasn't been cleaned, it hasn't been
Right.
tended to, and there's no real creature comforts here. This is a very functional place. It doesn't feel really like a home. It almost has no soul to it. That it's just four walls and a roof. There's very little that seems to make this a place where someone lives. But yeah, there are plenty of rooms that go off this corridor and then goes off into the length of the building that show that the place is lived in, that there are definitely signs that people do use the place. But yeah, it just feels very sterile and very dusty, and yeah, it just doesn't feel a pleasant place.
Because we don't
She leads
really
you
know
through to
what's
the
going on outside,
no, just, yeah, there's you do go through into the back, and she leads you through into the kitchen, where you can then see out into the back, where you actually probably see Valentina and Oscar looking around the well at this point. But yeah, there's a big like central table where she's got set up. She's using this little island to set up what looks to be about 10 different pieces of cloth that she's set up like chunks of bark bread. She's tried to cut them into or saw them into rough equal sections and then slice them up and trying to put together some vegetables. Obviously, again, they're very meager and look so they maybe been down in the root cellar or maybe a bit too long. So there's a couple of signs of mold on a few of these pieces, but nothing that can't be cut away, and then you still
Right.
use the rest of the untainted veg. And yeah, she's making little care packages up with, and then there's a big wicker basket that you imagine would be slung over one arm that she would then just be able to cram this lot into. And yeah, she kind of gestures to the work in progress and says, "Yeah, I've been putting together a few of these care packages where I can take up to the workers, and you just give them a little extra boost and hopefully raise their spirits because it's from what I've been led to understand, it's been some pretty hard work up there, and for very little reward or for very little care that their employers seem to be giving them, if you could even call them employed. They seem more like slaves."
Well, they work very hard, yes. Uh, Perhaps there's something I can add to, whatever we brought with us.
Well,
Yeah,
there's two types of spiritual needs, Father, and I'll pull out the flask and say, maybe they need some of this.
I'm not sure the benefit of giving rail workers spirits of that nature.
Perhaps you're right. And, ma'am, could I ask you, you're all alone here? You don't have any children? And I will look at her reaction when I say that.
give me an observation roll.
All right. Come on, big money. I'll re-roll it. I'll re-roll it.
Take a condition, eh? Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna become angry. Oh, damn it. No, nothing.
Okay. No, if she has a poker face, it is the best you've ever seen because she is unreadable. But yeah, she just kind of shakes her head and says, "No, not since my husband passed away. No, just me here."
Oh, I'm very
Oh,
sorry.
She kind of nods slowly and just looks at the floor a little bit, almost doing it's almost like a 1,000-yard stare. But she pulls herself together and looks back up. But yeah,
makes
no,
it even harder. Yes.
yeah, it's like I said, it's been a very hard couple of years.
Well, if I can offer you any kind of consolation, I'm going to try and I don't know. I want to use empathy in some way to maybe manipulate her into giving away more information about her past.
Okay.
Or
Yeah, that's definitely what manipulation is. You are trying to get her to do something that she doesn't want to do. So yeah, you can give me the manipulation roll.
that is 6 dice for me.
So the number of successes will dictate the kind of thing that she might be willing to give up.
Oh, I got 3 6s.
Okay. Right, fair enough. We'll see where this goes. Right, so what kind of things are you what's starting to want to try and get out of her?
Well, now that she said her husband's dead,
Mhm.
yeah, maybe along the same lines as Franz, husband, children,
Mhm.
and that's the way life goes. But you know me.
Fair enough.
I want to see if this woman is in league with dark spirits, that she's trying to get some sort of revenge on
Ah,
the
okay.
railway workers, or why is she doing this? I don't know that she's doing it, but we all sort of suspect that
Okay.
something is coming
Right.
out
So
of
you're
here.
trying to probe at her motivations and get a bit more on what happened with the husband. So yeah, I'll buy that. Because we've had the reading attempt to see if there was anything about a kid, but you might get a bit of a hint on there.
I guess
Yeah,
the direction is that uh to get her to become sentimental and talk about her hardships.
you think she might be sentimental, but that ain't the reaction she's gonna have.
Yeah.
Right. So she says, yeah, my husband, he passed away, must be about a year ago now. Or maybe a little bit just it was towards the early part of last year, just before I don't know if all this really happened. Um, yeah, Rasmus was never one for foresight. He uh, he just decided to leverage pretty much all of our uh, hopes for the farm on buying a whole load more farming equipment. Like he got a whole load more plows, he got a whole load, a couple of extra wagons, all the extra feed. He even like expanded the. We had a herd of cattle here for a little while. That he was hoping to to get some milk and to start making cheeses. And yeah, he pretty much banked the next 2 harvests on paying for all this. And what happens? He
Okay.
falls off one of his prize wagons, and the wagon runs over him. And have you heard the sound of a person being split in half by a wagon when they get rolled when the rolls over them, particularly as their head bursts and cracks like an egg?
Oh no,
Can't say I have.
that sounds horrible. My goodness.
Horrible's yeah, horrible is an understatement.
And then he left you with all of this, and you sold the cattle and the drought and the farm.
Oh, if every possible thing he could have left me, he left me with it. And you can
What,
almost feel the resentment dripping off the words as she almost spits them out.
my dear, why did you stay here? Don't you have
What choice have I
relatives,
got?
friends?
What other choice have I got? I've got no one else in the world. My parents have been dead for years.
Ah,
Rasmus was supposed to be my knight in shining armor that was getting me out of a squalid existence. And look what he just lands me straight back to square one. And then someone up above, and she looks kind of almost
contemptful.
resentfully,
Yeah.
yeah, resentfully up at the sky. Someone up there decided to send months of rain and cold to destroy my crops last year, and has now swung the pendulum completely in the other direction and made it dry as the outer circle of hell, and killed what little crops I had left for this year. So yeah, I'm wondering if someone up there has got it in for me, if there is even someone up there.
I am at a loss for words. I don't know why things go the way they do, and I'm not going to tell you that God has some sort of plan. But perhaps the very fact that we've come at this time, we can offer you some relief from the difficulties. And
She nods. I'm glad to hear that there is someone as accepting and open-minded that can see the kind of toils and strain that the likes of us common folk go through, and not patronize us with greater plans of the Almighty. It's a refreshing breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I'm just going to smile and try to be uplifting, and well, let's get some of this work done for you then.
Yes, I'm hoping that this is where I'll tag on one of your extra successes here. Yeah, the sooner we get the workforce fed, the sooner they'll get out of here and head further north.
And hopefully the rails will bring in more prosperity.
I'm somewhat of a cynic. I think if there is any prosperity, it's going to roll into the already deep pockets of those that are funding the venture.
Why
But I
don't
doubt it's going to come here.
why don't you want the rail people here?
She looks suddenly a little bit shocked, as if it's shit, shouldn't have said that kind of look comes across her face, just for the briefest of moments. Well, I just want them to finish up and to go home to their families. I mean, they're obviously out here so long, and they need to be back home with, especially in times like this. You don't want to be kept away from your family, wondering if they're starving, or if they've got food on the table to keep them last them through to the next paycheck. I mean, this is the middle of nowhere. I'd rather they're city folk. I'd rather they be back home rather than out here.
Well, Helena knows all of that. All about that. She was talking to what was her name again, Helena?
I've actually forgotten her name. I'm remembering Daphne, but I know that's not right.
Dagny.
Dagny Lundgren.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you say the name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's actually a glimmer of reaction from Marie when you say that. So you've met Miss Lundgren?
Yes, I did. I had a very nice conversation with her. She's writing about the injustices that are happening at the camp.
Yeah. She's actually renting a room from me here.
Oh, is she?
So,
Fascinating.
yeah. She's using this as kind of a base of operations, as she called it, to go commute back from here up to the railhead. And it's about this time that Valentina and Oscar will come in through whichever entrance you want to enter the scene by.
The kitchen door is in the part of the house where the boom boom is. Also, we don't want to seem rude or
Goes in
like
the
a
front door. Yeah.
We gave the dogs a drink, but the well is pretty shallow. We don't want to take too much. How soon do you think we'll depart, Father and Captain? I'm getting a bit famished myself.
Well, we've been putting these things together here in the kitchen for them. Are you going to be traveling with us back to the camp? Or we can carry it for you.
I was planning on going up there and kind of showing my face. I go up there as much as I can do to kind of lend a hand and obviously to distribute the care packages. I'd gladly accept the help getting stuff up there, and I wouldn't say no to a little bit of rest before I headed up there. So if you wanted to carry it on up there, I can follow behind in maybe like a half hour, an hour or so, just to get a bit of a nap. I've been
Yes,
up early preparing all this.
we've got some strength with us.
Yeah, plenty of hands.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like great plan. Please grab it and let's go.
My dear, I know you're not religious. If you don't mind, I would like to give you a blessing that things turn around and get better. I know you don't believe, but I believe. So
I appreciate that, Father. I learnt long ago that the only fate out there is that which we make for ourselves.
so is she accepting my blessing?
Yeah, she doesn't reject you.
I wanted to see if she was going to freak out that I was going to do anything.
No. That's definitely one thing you're picking up from what she has said. You're not, and I maybe classify this also might have been something that would be more of an investigation or vigilance type base role. But looking around the house, there's also no paraphernalia that implies that she has any kind of witchcraft in material or that she's got any kind of warning signs of types of things lying around the kitchen. It seems very basic, real, genuine farmstead stuff. There's no warning signs of, oh, she's got herbs hanging here, or there's like something upside down crucifix or anything particularly gauche like that. It very much feels like a real, genuine person's or agnostic household. There's no belief here. If anything, it's a lack of faith.
I was going to ask too earlier if there's any religious iconography, a cross or a
nothing.
Okay, that's fine. That's cool too. So I give her whatever blessing. I give.
Hey, Father, I'm really getting peckish, Father. Can we? I just found
Yes, we're going. We're going now.
Yeah, I'm pulling on Franz and Helena.
I'm
just
wrapping
pulling on our sleeves.
And I'll hold her hand for a minute and look into her eyes and say, things are going to get better. I hope. We'll try to help and make things better.
We'll see you on the trail, Father. Go get the dogs.
I hope so too, Father. But it sounds like the clock is ticking, and that your friends are wanting to get out fairly quickly.
All right, and we'll take whatever she wants us to carry.
Yeah, she gives you a massive, let's say, this big wicker basket that you can just about cram all this stuff into.
All right, cool.
And so hopefully I'll see you in an hour or so, or a couple of hours.
Just right up the trail there, right?
Yeah, just she directs you pretty much the way you came in. Just follow the trail all the way up, and when you can't miss it, you'll eventually come to the railhead. They parked pretty much right where that crossing goes over the rail line they're building.
Before I forget, which wagon wheel was it? Was it a front or a back?
It was a back wheel.
Okay, so that makes more sense.
Bigger one, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So if we've left and we're back on the trail, we will combine our stories.
Yes.
Her husband was killed. He was run over by the cart.
Dagny's there?
Well, I'm not sure. Would she have had enough time to get ahead of us?
I do.
Back here?
Oh, it wasn't the lady in the
there's
hat.
a third woman.
No, there's three disgruntled women that are.
But does that mean the journalist is in on the bombing?
It has to be.
Yes, she's a spy too.
I knew it was those goddamn anarchists.
But now
First they come for Garfield, and now they're coming for the rails.
I'm sure that Valentina realizes as well that 3 is one of those numbers that comes up when you're dealing with spirits. 3 women living out in the woods. I mean, everything from Baba Yaga stories to
Macbeth,
you know,
sure.
Macbeth, the three witches.
But we have a dead husband. We don't have a dead infant.
Yeah,
We have some enemies of the captain and his corporatist fellows in the country club that want to
Yeah.
blow up the rail line because it's unjust, and I don't think that's got anything to do with the monstrous baby.
Well, I'm a
Right.
monarchist
Miling.
officer.
Fair
Right.
enough.
Yeah, I think this is something for the authorities to handle.
Well, the question is, do we want to send in a raid before anything else gets blown up, or do we want to seize their munitions ourselves or blow them up? Or do we want to?
we could hide along the trail and stop them when they're going to plant the explosives.
And how does Murray Alstrom know Dagny the journalist and someone who knows how to make a clock bomb?
She
I
says
mean,
that
that's
she's staying with
technologically, yes, but I mean, if they're in a conspiracy together, which they appear to be, how do they happen? The anarchist and the journalist just visited farmhouses until they found somebody who would put them up. Do you mind if
Well,
we make some bombs here in your spare
There's
room?
there's definitely something to the story that we don't know yet.
Plenty.
Because Marie she didn't seem like a cruelly violent person, like she was somebody whose husband had died and she'd gone through great hardships.
And to be fair,
Why?
they've only had one injury. They're not trying to injure people. They're trying to injure property. They seem to be very careful about it.
Right. They're not poisoning the workers with their food or anything. So,
We
I
see
mean,
the
unless you
food.
count birch bread.
yeah. That's-
Yes. And
oh,
wasn't there some evidence when we were looking at the schedule that whoever was causing the explosions was going out of their way to make sure they weren't near anyone? And if it's three women who have some sort of occultist ties with one another, three witches, and they need to cross the iron, or they need some spirit to cross the iron.
there's so many there were so many instruments, plows, so much metal there at the farm. I think maybe we're thinking about maybe wrong. Maybe they're not trying to they're sabotaging the railroad, but
For
and they're
some
going
other
out of their way
reason.
not to kill anyone. So are they just wanting to delay the railroad for some reason? I don't know, but because
Well,
going about it slowly, breaking up bits and pieces of it doesn't seem like you're trying to really destroy it. You're trying to delay something.
You know?
I'm inclined to agree. I think, and in terms of how they're connected, these libertine anarchists, I bet the husband had affairs with all three women. They found out, took him out, like Truman Capote, or wait, not like Truman Capote. He's not around yet.
Well, we do have the
100
husband's
years
name.
We could talk to
yes,
him.
Erasmus.
We do
I
have the
think-
husband's name.
I think we should have a chat with Erasmus Alstrom and see if that's his grave in the backyard and whether it was really an accident.
She seemed angry at him because, of course, he sank all of their money into the equipment, and then the drought came, and then he died. And I could see her being angry her whole life. I feel very sorry for them. I don't know why they're doing what they're doing. And the child, it could be from something that happened to one of them or all of them, or
We could ask the husband if there was a child. But yeah, they're making a great deal of sacrifice for themselves. I mean, she's breaking in to her own stores just to feed these workers, to spy on the workers. I mean,
I was
That's
trying
fine.
to put anything together we know with our own knowledge of the Vaesen and wondering if they were attempting to summon and or appease the spirits of the woods, that they wanted the spirits to come to their farm and perhaps bless them with prosperity, but the rails were in the way. I'm just making up what would seem like some sort of folkloric story.
and yeah,
But that's what we do, you know.
well, yes, but I'm kind of thinking of the as still two things going on. So if you were going to destroy the tracks and there wasn't a Bayesian connection, who benefits from the delay? I mean, you're ordering more equipment, the workers are working extra hours or extra days. Is this
Oh,
benefiting somebody monetarily? She's in debt. They
see,
brought together.
I don't think they're trying to delay the rail. I
But I don't
think
think
that
they're trying to destroy it either.
I think they are. I think they're trying to create an open path
But
so
they
that
know that,
something can,
but they know that that won't last. That's just a temporary thing.
yeah.
Didn't she say that
It's repaired.
the sooner that the workers go home to their families, et cetera, the better?
Well, that
Maybe
seems like
she's
a
Yeah, that did seem like she was just saying that because
line.
she'd made a
Well,
mistake.
well, I thought that the mistake was that she wanted them to move out of here, north.
Yeah.
then if she does, then why help the sabotage
Mm.
that just delays it each
Yeah.
time?
We also don't know if there's something that has to do with the people in charge of the railway, that these women have a beef against.
True, we haven't even talked to the person who summoned us yet.
Yeah, we need to get to the
We
camp
haven't
and
gotten
talk.
to camp. This is all speculation right now, but
We can certainly ask them at the camp if the women have been coming and bringing them treats
Well, if
or
she plans
food.
to come after us and take credit for the hamper, I would be very surprised if she didn't. Do you suppose this bark bread is better when it's fresh, and thus we should hurry? Or does it
Yes.
maybe improve with?
Let's just hurry
our
because we
time.
brought our own things in our little kitchen, and we were going to try to cook for the men. So make them happy.
Yeah.
Also, she's a criminal. Why don't we just seize her when she comes up the road?
Because we don't know why she's a
Yeah.
criminal.
Well,
And maybe it's something we don't understand. Um, have you ever heard of Chesterton's fence?
I have not.
It's the idea, well, it's an old folklore tale about a boy who knocks down a fence and all of the sheep end up getting eaten. But the principle is you don't knock down the fence unless you know why it's there. So you don't wreck something just because you don't understand why it's there. We want to find out why it's there and be sure of it before we remove it. I
I
don't know if
mean,
that.
from my perspective, we're sure that they're bombers. They're criminals, terrorists.
Nothing is black and white.
I'm with Franz on this. I mean, I think yes, there's sabotage in the railroad for whatever reason.
The proper authorities
We're
exist.
not here to solve that.
What if the reason is because these railroad men have decimated the women and used them? I mean, we don't know. I would like to know before we decide which side we're on.
We honestly, Father, you can't. The women are a danger to themselves and others under these circumstances, and we can't permit that to carry on very long. I don't know that that means we want to call in the army as soon as we get to camp.
I
But
mean, if they were ill-used by the men, it'll come out at the trial. And if we don't arrest them and they blow someone to smithereens, or they blow themselves to smithereens even, what will we say then?
I mean, what you're saying makes sense, but we're not policemen. We're Vaesen investigators. We're here. We know that there are reasons that things happen that are more complicated than what the law would say.
I
yes,
still we have two things going on: the sabotage and the Vaesen.
Yes.
And turning in the saboteurs is separate from the Vaesen.
and
Well,
honestly, Father Nystrom, it might be the explosions that are causing the Vaesen to misbehave.
It's
It's
true.
possible
It's
that
true.
if we send the gendarmes after the crazy ladies, that the matter will resolve itself. It's not certain yet.
Gendarmes.
With authorities, I was reading Victor Hugo back at the house. Well, I was looking at the illustrations.
You and your Hugo.
They're great engravings.
Well,
Helena, what do you think?
I am siding with Father Nystrom. I feel like we need to understand the situation a whole lot better. It's very easy to judge someone if you don't understand.
now to turn this all around and say this to Helena, Oscar, you know me the longest. You know that I'm always trying to find a negotiation way to solve things. I do admit that doesn't always work. So take everything I say with a grain of salt.
And I will say both to you, Father Nystrom, and Helena, seeing the woman in there with her carriage clocks and her bundles of wire and this crate full of explosives, it's not safe. They're engaging in a terrible endeavor. So it should be resolved soon. I just don't know that we tackle that first when, as you say, we don't understand.
It does seem, though, like that's a very complex. I mean, I know one man that manufactures clocks, and it's an extremely complicated thing to turn that same art into a bomb. I wouldn't know where to begin.
When the worker at the rail said that they were using a timing device, I thought he was kidding himself, that they were throwing them from the hill, from the woods, and hoping for. Because apparently,
did he say a timing device? I mean, how did he even know? Why couldn't they have just had a fuse? So did he misspeak? Does he know something more than? Again, I think I still think that there's a purpose to delaying the construction. Now, do we confront the ladies now and just say, we know what you're doing, stop it, and not tell the authorities? Or do we just watch and play this out and maybe investigate further into the camp?
Well, if you're concerned for the women, as I'm not, because they're filthy terrorists, but I will appeal to your ethos or whatever and say that in the powder magazine of a ship, there are the utmost experts in powder that can deal with the magazine of bombs. And those things still go up every now and then. Like, TNT is not stable. If you drop it, if you bump it, if there's a spark, if there's a shock, if there's a whatever, it can go up like a Christmas tree. So there's a ticking clock for, these women who may be experts, but how much of experts can they possibly be?
and why are they in league?
There's got to be more to the story than just somebody motivated to bomb a rail track. I mean, there has to be a reason for potentially one person who's local and then two others who are not.
Well, let's get to camp and learn what we can and see what else might be going on. And hopefully nobody gets hurt.
Fingers crossed. Right, you head along the path. You end up eventually, you get back to that kind of junction where you've had the path that was taken by other lady through the woods and went down towards the bombing site. You continue to follow the trail up, and after about another kilometre or so, it comes back to the rail line, and you do get to the railhead camp. And yeah, the area is a nice clearing that's been put aside for it. It's very basic. There's basically a row of tents where the workers sleep. They're communal tents, so they haven't obviously got one person per tent. That would be far too extravagant. But there's a series of tents for the workers. Then you've got a large mess tent. You've got a couple of storage tents. Got a row of latrines that's out towards the tree line. Large store piles of wood where they've been making the sleepers out of large parts of the trees that they've been cutting down. Obviously, the stack of the rails themselves, and they have made some progress beyond the camp. It isn't that they've got to this point and then stopped. They've progressed and cleared more of the grounds heading north, but obviously then some of the team have had to be dispatched to go all the way back to repair the damage from the sections of the rails that have been blown up behind them. But the rail does continue on further north from where they are. But there's a number of people that are still here. You can see definitely the mess tent. There's a number of people where they're starting to put together what would be presumably like the evening meal by this point, because it's mid-afternoon now. I'd say that there is definitely life in the camp when you arrive, but you can definitely tell that not everyone's here, because there'll be people up at the the railhead further up, and also back down the train line if they haven't already got here.
Is there like a small wooden like office for the manager, Benson?
There is not so much of a shed or a little cabin, but there is a tent which is a little bit set further apart from the rest. And that may be implying that this is more of one that would be for the full woman in this case.
Is it or its flaps open or closed? Does it look occupied? Is there the sound of a typewriter issuing from within?
If you want to pass, you do find that there is one half of the tent cover is open, and there is indeed someone inside where you can, if you were to wander past an angle, you can see there is a desk inside, a cot bed opposite, and there is a lady sat there writing, it seems, referring to a couple of different pieces of paper laid out on the desk. So doing something vaguely officious.
Well,
I'll
I'm gonna
go to
before.
Go ahead.
But I'm just gonna before take some quiet time and maybe look at the sun through my sunstone, meditate on that, just get calm and get rid of my conditions.
Yep, cross off a couple of those while you can.
That's yes. And then put the dog away.
Yeah.
Introduce myself around the camp, head towards the mess tent, and help set up and get to cooking.
I
Gotcha.
think that's probably Carita Bertson, if we want to formally say hello, tell her that we've started our investigation.
Oh, yes, go ahead. Well, I'll make myself useful.
All right.
Okay.
Valentina or Helena, do you want to come and grease the wheels?
I would like to come, yes.
Okay, so Oscar and Helena, you're going up to the foreman's tent.
Mhm.
Okay. She hears you, maybe not the crunch of the ground, but hears footsteps coming towards the tent. She puts down a pen and kind of looks to one side to get a view of who's coming towards the tent. So hello, can I help you?
We're from the society. Uh, Miss Berenson, I assume?
Yes, there's this visible look of relief that suddenly crosses over her, and she puts down her pen and says, "Thank God you're here. I was getting worried that, well, I don't know what I was going to do if you folks didn't turn up. Please, dear God, I hope you've got you can give me some kind of idea as to what's going on here, because I'm just at a loss, and I can't have more people die or vanish on me or whatever's happening to them. Please, 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 please tell me you've got some answers."
We've uh, we've had some useful inquiries so far. I'm Oscar Eriksson. This is Helen Johansson. We brought some food. This woman from a farmhouse down the way, Marie Alstrom, you familiar with her?
Her eyes narrow for a second. You can almost hear the cogs turning in her head. The local farmer's wife. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she sent up some bark bread and things.
yeah, it's not particularly tasty, but hey, we'll take anything at this point.
She says she's been a regular visitor, more or less.
I'd say maybe every other day, really, is kind of frequency. Yeah, she's eager to help out wherever she can, and it's really nice of her to be able to give so much away that obviously when she has almost nothing herself.
Well, she does have a tenant at the moment, you know.
But there's the journalist lady that's staying with her. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, she's uh strikes me a bit more like a vulture rather than a journalist. I mean, she seems nice enough, but obviously is circling around waiting for something bad to happen to report on all this. It seems a bit ghoulish to me. But
When did she arrive, the journalist?
not that long after the bombing started, probably about a couple of days afterwards.
She writes exclusively for the Vestebarten Courier.
Yeah, as far as I understand, yeah. I mean, I'm not much of a newspaper reader myself, but I believe that's what she said that she worked for.
Oh, did she show her press credentials?
They have them.
Mm.
Hmm.
But she hasn't been making any trouble being or running around raking muck. She's just
Oh no, she after a couple of harsh words for making sure that she wasn't acting like horse manuring, always getting under your feet. That she took the hint and made sure she wasn't getting in the way. So she's we kind of tolerate her in that sense.
That's good.
so the bad news is that at least some of the guards that have gone missing won't be coming back.
Her got her eyes open wide, her jaw slightly drops open. What, you found out what's happened to them?
Our colleague Valentina has the ability sometimes to contact those who have passed, and she helped release one of them who was suffering. So we'd like, I suppose, at your convenience, to arrange a sort of powwow. We'll get the rest of the society, and we can tell you what we know and make a plan. You might want to not put guards. There's a pattern to the disappearances, and we think we can avoid putting guards in danger. But we can't. There are things we can do, but our main plan involves waiting for nightfall to see if we can recognize the entity that's acting here.
You know, she gulps, and you can see that she turns pale at the realization that there's people that have died as a result of this. and just shakes her head and reaches around the back of the table to pull up a must be a green bottle with some dark fluid inside of it that she promptly takes a neck back from it. Everyone here gets pretty worried, and when night falls, and now you guys want it to come even quicker. You're going to go down like a lead balloon here. And as she chugs away and takes a mouthful of evidently some very strong stuff, that is probably a good point to leave it for tonight.
Wonderful. Our players included Thomas Grooms, Max Meltzer, Julian Arba, David Gasway, and myself, with Matthew Sanderson as our game master. We have a Discord server where you can chat with other members, you can set up private games, and you can learn the finer arts of gameplay and game mastering. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Spotify, Podbean, or iTunes. Support for the show is provided by our patrons who are listed in the closing credits. If you would like to show us your appreciation, please visit our Patreon page listed in the description. Or you can use the Super Thanks button just below the screen. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows. And leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answer any questions you might have. This is Thom Raley, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of Scandinavian mythology and the Vaesen role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.